Thank you, Mr. Ravi. So I would not like to talk about what Microsoft has to offer, because I treat this more as a forum of sharing, ideas, and particularly in line with, the topic for the discussion today, which is around what are the ideas coming from the global arena, which we can look at locally and try and apply them here. So that's the kind of track that I would like to maintain, sir, with your permission. Uh, it's more in terms of looking at what are the key technology trends that is going to drive what we can term as part 2 of e-governance. I'm deliberately not calling it Gov 2.0 because that has a very specific connotation. Therefore, have used my own term in terms of calling it part 2 of e-governance, and which is very relevant in the context of Gujarat as a state particularly, because I think Gujarat as a state, you have achieved way and beyond what could be termed at a country level the first stage of governance, the immense success that has happened, which we have noted over the years. And if you were to look at, two primary things which are already driving and which will significantly drive that momentum of e-governance growth in the years to come. One, I think, is very significant, which is consumerization of IT or democratization of IT. I think Ms. Sangeeta Singh made a very elaborate, well-researched articulation of how we moved into the post-Fordism era, and where participatory governance is emerging. And we are seeing that impact on IT, where people are deciding how to use IT and for what to use IT, and not necessarily always the government or businesses deciding how people are going to consume IT. Right? So that is what we call as consumerization of IT trend. The way to look at it in businesses is slightly different. If you look at businesses, what CIOs in businesses today are grappling with is the phenomena of bringing your own devices. People, since the lines between work and personal affairs is blurring in terms of usage of IT, people want to bring their own devices into workplace. And they are questioning as to why they can't use their own devices in the workplace and get a seamless experience of whatever work that they are trying to do. So CIOs are grappling with how to handle that bring your own device phenomena. Now, while that is the context in the business sphere, in government there is a different connotation to that. In terms of e-governance, I think the way it will translate into is the cognizance of the fact that people are going to decide how they are going to consume their services. Whether they are going to do it through a kiosk or not is not going to be the government's mandate. It is going to be really the consumer who is going to have access to all forms of devices in the years to come, ranging, different form factors, which are again, getting reduced in prices. They are going to decide how they are going to consume their services. So that's one big trend which I think will drive this. And the other trend which will drive e-governance part 2, I think, is the phenomena of cloud services or cloud computing. And the good news is that in respect of both of these, if you actually look at and scan around the canvas of e-governance which has been set by government or is being looked at, or the way government is responding to that, the good news is that these are all good preparations, right? And I'll kind of walk you through some of these to understand why there are forces which I call inside-out forces, which is the work that has already been done by the government lends itself to adopt these two trends, which is that of consumerization of IT and the cloud. And what are the outside-in forces which kind of forces the government or pushes the government to look at these two trends and shape their e-governance accordingly. So I'll look at those, but just before I go to that, it's very interesting to share this quotation from Bill Gates. I found it extremely impactful. where he says the world is getting better, but it's not getting better fast enough, and it's not getting better for everyone. I think it kind of summarizes the challenge that all governments grapple with. You know, the biggest issue of our e-governance is that of inclusion, right? And I think this summarizes it very, very beautifully. But that I just wanted to show this because it is quite impactful. But the crux of the thing that I'm really talking about is this. And I call it kind of cloud 9 for government just for semantics purposes, not necessarily that these are the 9 forces, but yeah, I mean, there are these 9 forces which you can possibly take cognizance of. The top 2 lines is what I call as inside out, and the bottom line is what I call as outside in. Inside out meaning you've already established a lot of that infrastructure or applications or momentum which lends itself to the usage of cloud and consumerization of IT. And outside in, which you see in the bottom line, are the ones to which the government needs to respond to as they increase their momentum of e-governance. Okay. So, you know, connectivity is the backbone, right? Without which you cannot really do anything online and go beyond online, which is, let's say you wanted to do a services-based consumption or a multi-tenant application. You cannot go beyond that unless you had a broad-based network access or, you know, through which all kinds of devices connects. So one primary definition of cloud is that there has to be, or a characteristic of cloud is that there has to be a broad network access. The state data centers lend themselves extremely well to replicable applications within the state. And there are examples which, you know, organizations have shown, which governments have shown. For example, you know, we run one application commonly shared. It's really the shared services phenomena, which is shared services on state data centers by 2 different states. So one place where we have set up e-district applications for the state of Madhya Pradesh, and which is shared by the government of Jammu and Kashmir. The initial implementation for MP was about 12 to 14 months, but the rollout for Jammu and Kashmir took just about 2 months. So sharing between states, interstates or intrastates, these state data centers lend themselves perfectly to upgrade themselves into a sort of a private cloud, because private cloud really, I think, is the way cloud will get implemented or deployed in government because of sovereignty issues and privacy issues and so on. So that lends itself very, very well. UID or NPR, we don't intend getting into that debate as to whose mandate it is to do that work. But surely, the identification is an important issue. Government recognizes that as an important issue to be sorted out.